Hey everyone, this is Celeste Stacy and welcome to Uncover Your Joy. Great to see you. Awesome, I'm glad you're here. This is a channel that's 100% dedicated to helping you uncover your pure, unadulterated joy in three areas of a life that can steal our joy, and that is health, love, and money. And when we talk about love relationships, yeah, romantic relationships are part of it, but not necessarily. Any relationship that you value, any relationship that you care about is a love relationship. So, health, love, and money, those are the three areas of a life that we're going to be focusing on this channel and helping you uncover your pure joy and breaking through those barriers that prevent you from getting to your joy. So, if that sounds like you definitely want to subscribe because we're going to be digging into some topics, some really tricky ones, and some ones that help us break through and allow us to kind of face things that maybe we've been ignoring. And another benefit of subscribing, for my subscribers only, you're going to get an inside look at some bonus material called Watch Me Live My Best Life. And in that bonus material, you're going to be watching me tackle some of the areas that are stealing my joy and watching me break through those obstacles that are preventing me from it. And the cool part about that is it's going to be a totally interactive experience. It's going to be live, and you're going to get to interact with me. You're going to be able to give your feedback, perspectives live. You're going to be able to give me challenges to break through so that I get there. You're going to watch me live my best life. All right. It may be a little crazy, just letting you know. All right. So today we're going to be digging into the question, am I the shock absorber? So what do I mean by being a shock absorber? So a shock absorber is someone who takes on the brunt of other people's problems, other responsibilities, things that grown folks can do, but somehow they're relying a little bit too much on you to solve those problems, right? Or somebody who's always taking on the burden from other people's lives, okay? Does that make sense? So we're going to talk about three signs that you just might be the shock absorber in your life when it comes to those relationships. Now, the very, very first sign is that you take on problems that are not yours to solve. You take on problems that are not yours to solve. So what does that look like? So have you ever had a friend or a family member who routinely runs out of money before the end of the month? And when they run out of money, they run to you. You're constantly going in your pocket. You're constantly, giving away your resources. You're constantly digging into your accounts to keep this person afloat. Why? Because that person hasn't put on his big boy pants or her big girl pants and solved the reason for this problem. Could it be that they're mismanaging their priorities? And the fact that they're mismanaging their priorities is costing you money, right? So that's one way you're a shock absorber in someone's life, right? You take on problems that are not yours to solve. Another sign is you find yourself giving away your time and changing your schedule to accommodate other people. And this is routinely. So maybe at work, you're the person who's constantly filling in, trading days for people who are like, hey, can you fill in for me? I want to watch my kid's game. Well, during COVID, it's a lot different, right? But, I want to watch my kid's game. Or somebody else goes, we have some other event. Do you think you can fill in for me? Oh, they know because you're a nice person that you'll probably say yes. Because most of the time, shock absorbers are givers. Shock absorbers are people who will gladly do favors, give of their time, give of their resources, but they're often really, really taken advantage of by other people who just simply won't step up, okay? So maybe another situation is, maybe it's in a family situation where you have siblings or you have family members who should probably share responsibilities for certain things. And somehow, when the need arises, everybody scatters. And you're the last man or the last woman standing. You're that shock absorber because they know that, she'll take care of it. She'll take care of it. Maybe you're relied on to babysit, right? Babysit the kids constantly while your partner does whatever, right? While your partner says, you know what, I'm busy at work, or I got to meet the girls, or I got to meet the guys. And you're the one that's constantly stuck. Sure, these kids didn't ask to be there. Obviously, they can't take care of themselves if they're little kids. But at the same time, should you be the shock absorber when another person, an equal partner, is not pulling their weight? Talking about partnerships, what about partners who overspend, don't budget, always put you in situations where you're having to scramble? You're the shock absorber because that person's not pulling their weight. So 2 things we covered so far: you take on problems that aren't yours to solve, and you find yourself constantly altering your schedule and giving your time away to other people to the point where you can't focus on yourself. The third way that we're going to cover that you know that you are the shock absorber in your relationships is when you are the person people come to dump their problems on and complain. Now, let me be clear. Let me be clear, because I could just hear you say, hey, wait a minute. We're all supposed to support each other. What are we supposed to do? We all need somebody to talk to, right? This is the difference. When you listen and you're there for someone, that's a beautiful thing. We all need that. You become a shock absorber when you talk to someone, they tell you problems, they ask you for advice, you give your best advice. They're like, you know what? You're right. And then they go off. The last thing they do is follow your advice. And they come right back to you and they complain and they bitch and they moan. And it's the same thing over and over again. And you give your best advice. You try to be supportive. They say, you know what? Yep, you're right. They go off. They do everything but follow your advice. And they come back again. And it's a cycle over and over and over again. This friend, this person, this family member, whomever, this coworker, someone whose relationship you value is dumping on you, essentially. They're dumping on you. They're not trying to solve their problem. They're not trying to get out of their situation. They just want to use you as a sounding board to complain. That gets exhausting after a while. You become that person's shock absorber. That's draining your joy. So we talked about 3 ways. And by all means, this is not an exhaustive list. And I know that you can probably think of many scenarios that I haven't mentioned. Number 1, you take on problems that are not yours to solve. Number 2, you find yourself regularly giving away your time, your money, your resources to make up for others' deficiencies and decisions. And number 3, you get caught up in a cycle of being a sounding board for others who have no intention on taking your advice, but they want to continue to dump on you. They want you to be their dumpster. So all of these things steal our joy. We've all been there. Maybe we've been the person to do the dumping, right? And we have our own shock absorbers. So how do you know when this is truly stealing your joy? How do you know the difference between being supportive and being the shock absorber, right? Being the dumpster. Okay, so the first way you know is that it keeps happening over and over again, right? The same people, it keeps happening, same people, okay? Another way you know is that you feel put upon. You started out maybe doing something, happily and willingly, but now it's really starting to feel like an imposition. Now it's really starting to feel like you're being taken advantage of. So you've become a supporting character so much that your needs and your happiness is starting to take a back seat. And why do we continue to be the shock absorber for people? Out of guilt, out of love, out of obligation, out of falsely perceived necessity. We feel that if we're not there, if we don't step in, then their world's just going to fall apart. It's going to crumble. It's not going to crumble. They're going to figure it out. Okay? They're going to figure it out. They just have you to lean on so they don't have to figure it out. Another way you know that it's stealing your joy and probably will continue to is that there doesn't seem to be any end in sight. There is no actionable plan of accountability to make this stop. So that's how you know it's stealing your joy. So now let's talk about how to get it back. So the very, very first thing to do when you find yourself in that situation is to do what? Ask some questions. And the first question I want you to ask yourself to break this cycle of being a shock absorber is this really my problem to solve? Is this really my problem to solve? Or am I enabling? Now, if you are a giver, that's going to sound really blunt. It's going to sound really harsh. It may even sound selfish if you're so used to being the shock absorber and the problem solver in somebody else's life. But I want you to really be honest with yourself, because you're the only person who knows. Deep down, you know, is this problem really mine to solve? Or am I enabling? The most loving thing that you can do for someone is to allow them to grow, allow them to solve their own problems, allow them to get through it on their own. It may be harsh, it may sound like tough love. They may even blame you because they're so used to leaning on you and not stepping up in their own lives. They may even make you the villain. But you got to be strong, and you got to know that the most loving thing that you can do for someone is allow them to grow. So that's it. Start with that question. Be really, really honest with yourself. And in the next episode, we are going to cover something I hear all the time. This is another love relationship, and this time is romantic love. And it has to do with dating. And that next episode, we're going to start to uncover our joy when it comes to dating and romantic love. You don't want to miss that. All right. Until next time, this is Celeste Stacy. If you like this video, subscribe. That's the only way you're going to get an inside look at Watch Me Live My Best Life. And until next time, we are going to intentionally uncover our joy. Talk to you soon. Bye.